day of action on nonviolent economy. We are very, very pleased to have you here with us again to catch up on today's actions in India, in Canada, in South Asia, in Nepal, and in Italy. Before our highlights of the day, I'm very pleased to let you know that we are having an amazing panel on nonviolent economy. As you know, we have been going through different topics in these last 10 days, trying to think together how people is trying to make some initiatives from local places in order to build up on this new nonviolent economy we're trying to transit to. And today we will be very lucky to have a deeper discussion on what does that mean for us and how we can really build up as an international network on this. So as every day, before moving to our panel and the highlights of the day, we will start with a beautiful Jagat song, and then we will come back with the panel, and afterwards we will share the highlights. So stay with us here and don't miss and the greatest news we have for you. Thank you very much.
Winds of peace shall blow around. We shall all now sing aloud. sun of love be strong. Let the night of hate be gone. Let the night of hate be gone. Sing along, Jai Jagat. Call along, Jai Jagat. For peace, let the souls come alive. For justice and joy, come alive. Sing along, Jai Jagat. Call along, Jai Jagat. Sing along, Jai Jagat. Call along, Jai Jagat.
Thank you very much, Gary, for these beautiful songs. And well, today is our second to last day of action of this Jai Jagat campaign, and we still have a lot of ongoing actions for today and tomorrow. But before going to that, let me introduce Jill Harris, the international coordinator of this campaign, who will introduce and present today's panel on nonviolent economy. Welcome, Jill.
Thank you, Monica. Jai Jagat. I want to welcome the panelists and all the people watching, and also all of the people in solidarity with these 12 days of action. So we are now broadcasting on October 1st, which is the day before Gandhi Jayanti, or Gandhi's birthday. This is 151st birthday. And tomorrow will be October 2nd, the last day of this campaign. And we're going to see many, many actions tomorrow with the 106 pediatras, for instance, of India coming together at Tilda in Chhattisgarh. Many, many people will congregate tomorrow and celebrate the end of this Jai Jagat. In Mexico, there's a huge activity tomorrow. And we have in a number of other countries, different things going on. I'll be part of a march in Lyon in France. I'm currently not in India, I'm in Europe, and a very, very active Jai Jagat unit here in Lyon in the middle of France. So there'll be many activities tomorrow. And as a result, we wanted to have the panel tonight because we thought nobody will be able to listen or concentrate on a panel tomorrow with all the different kinds of activities. So what we wanted to do today was to not only take a reflection of what we've done in the last 12 days, and we're fortunate to have Yves Berthelon here with us, who saw most of the broadcasting of the last 12 days. We have to give Yves kudos for sitting through hours and hours of broadcast of Jai Jagat and trying to find some of the highlights that need to be emphasized or that we should remember as we track forward in a forward direction. But before I introduce my honorable colleagues, I want to just say that the world is going through a massive transition. The pandemic, the climate has given us a huge wake-up call in the North. I think the poverty and economic hardship, coupled with a lot of violence, which has come as a result of that poverty and economic hardship, has also given us cause to pause, not reset, but relaunch and retransform our thinking towards a different and alternative future. We need to bring some of the ideas of what does a nonviolent future look like. And as you know, this campaign focused on the nonviolent economy as one of the ways to see this nonviolent future. What are the economic relations that we need to relaunch, re-transform in such a way that there's greater inclusion and greater peace and justice, peace with justice. I know my colleagues have a lot to say on helping us to think through that new direction. And so I will suggest just a few minutes of introducing the three of them. All of them have been longtime fellow travelers with Jai Jagat. So I want to specifically pinpoint where they have come in the Jai Jagat family. We start with Yves Berthelot. He is a French diplomat who worked as the deputy director of UNCTAD, one of the very important UN agencies that brought development and trade together. He has been on the Economic Commission for Europe. And after retirement, some 2 decades ago, he took up many activities, including helping with the Center for Torture in Paris and writing a very significant book on human economy. But where Yves has been so vital in our Jai Jagat family is how he has always been there to help handhold, give ideas, give motivation to all of us to keep going in our various activities. And I know Yves was the first to say that he would come to India directly after the pandemic to work with us to try to frame from the grassroots certain ideas about nonviolent economy. We await your trip to India, Yves, but I would just first turn it over to you. How have you seen some of the discussions in the last 11 days that need to be highlighted for us to take some of these things into our future? Over to you, Yves.
Thank you very much, Jill. Jill, it's very difficult to speak about what you have said about me. I will not be at the level of what you suggested I could be, but nevertheless, I would like on my side to start by thanking all of those who organized and participated in this action campaign for promoting a non-violent economy. The 2-hour Zoom meeting animated by Monica, mixing testimonies, songs, videos, webinars, sent a strong message of both unity and diversity. Unity in the purpose to build a non-violent and human world, diversity in the ways and priorities retained for achieving it, because of the differences among culture and circumstances throughout the world. I will sum up what I retained from these 10 days in considering 3 levels: the individual one, the local level, and the global level. At the individual, the first step is to make peace with oneself so that we don't project on others the contradictions and tension we suffer from. To that end, a great emphasis was put on fasting. I would have not thought of it. I would have mentioned maybe meditation. But I understood from the testimonies that fast helps to unite body and soul, to understand those who have little, those who are deprived, those who suffer of injustice. Therefore, it questions our greediness to consume more, to dispose of more, of more goods, of more space, to control more the others, to own more, to have more power, to make fast more fruitful. It helps, it was said, and I think it's right, to focus on a particular issue, and also it helps to note that others are fasting the same day on the same issue. Jagat has helped and may help in the future on this point. Fast, from the example given, fast can lead each one to economize water, energy, to change its diet in order to consume less, to consume local, to pay more attention to the other, to, in other words, using a French priest, to shift from having more to being more. To change behaviors in a community, it is not possible and not sufficient in any case to act alone. Not only it is difficult, but it would have little impact. Therefore, the second lesson of those days is to act together, to listen to each other, to share experiences. That can be done certainly by joining association, civil society organization, movement, or as it was given as example, to meet and discuss with others at the occasion of collective luncheon that gather people from different places. Examples were given of the solidarities mobilized in such occasion. But to change community, another instrument on which a big emphasis was put are the marches. A march is first of all a common adventure, mixing excitement and tiredness, welcome and hostility. It permits to reach people at the grassroots in their diversity, to create links and to share or collect experiences, to convey a message by dialoguing with the people met on the road or at the steps. But like fast, a march has to have a purpose. I would like to underline, and I will not insist on that, but about the march, I would like to underline the difficulty to retain the ideas collecting during the marches, the commitment we made to others or to ourselves, and to transform all that into action afterward. It may help to draw conclusions every day and to put them on record for further individual or collective decision. I retain among what was highlighted by the marches, the request, particularly in India and Canada, I retain the peasants' requests to control their land, not to be exposed to the orders of foreigners or multinationals, to not be exposed to see their air and waters polluted, and to be deprived at the end of the possibility to cultivate their land. That is very strong. During these days, marches as public demonstration to convince local authority or government or even an enterprise to do not or to do something, to take or not or to withdraw a decision were mentioned. It is where non-violence matters on the part of the demonstrators and the authorities, particularly the police, to show that public demonstration can be non-violent and lead to some improvement is certainly essential to a non-violent world. It means a culture of dialogue which is too often absent. In the interdependence of issues was mentioned. That is a necessity, there is a necessity for building nonviolent economic policies to take into account these independencies that have both economic and social dimension, and we cannot delink the interdependencies at the economic and social level. And the pandemic you refer to, Jill, has destroyed many of the links which make a society. And it's why it's today particularly important to try to rebuild these links. Obviously, from what we saw, if national policies are as stable as possible, it is relatively easy to conceive coherent strategy at the local level where people face common problems, can meet among themselves, and that explains that territories are considered as a fruitful level of action by many of the civil society, NGOs, civil society organizations, NGOs, and movement. It was mentioned about water management in particular, and assistance to refugees, all what can be done at the local level or on a territory. But I would like to insist on a point. In developing plans or projects at the level of a territory, it is important to secure the participation of local authorities. They are often more willing to help than to create problems and obstacles. That being said, a lot of issues cannot be solved at the local level and even at the national one. Take for instance, the access to energy, the sharing of transboundary waters like the Mekong, the Niles, the Great Lakes in Africa. Take the case of international migrants all around the world. Things can be done at the local level, but also at the global level. And it is certainly better, and it was said, and it is strong, to use national laws or international principles and rules than violence, guns, or bombs. Better also for NGOs to exchange and cooperate rather than to compete for visibility or financial resources. From this point of view, Jagat has been exemplary. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you so much, Eve. What a set of reflections that gives us pause to think about. I was most taken by what you said in terms of not allowing the constant grievances that we hear from the local level and the commitments that we make to people not to be lost, but to be recorded and to somehow honor those so that we don't get lost in the end product or the end of what we're doing, but we remember all of the people along the way. And I also take note of what you said in terms of the importance of localization, but not to lose the global thread that you indicated was part of the global interdependence, that we are now facing more than ever before, a global village where we have to be peaceful. Otherwise, it has huge consequences for people. So peace has to now be built into development in ways that it may not have been 3 or 4 decades ago. So thank you for that, those remarks. And we look forward to putting some of this down for people to see it as an updated green and white book, Jai Jagat Manifesto. Turning now to Asha Ramesh. Asha has been involved in women's organizing for years, and it's too long a list to say. I think her amazing work around 2002, when she was with Christian Aid on women and land issues, was a time that we really saw Asha engage at the grassroots and with women in a way that helped Ekta Parishad, and we're so thankful for the work that Asha did later in Water Aid and in many other ways that Asha has been involved in bringing women livelihood, women gender equality as issues into the work of so many civil society groups. One of the things I want to highlight is that Asha helped us to organize in 2016 a women of 50 grassroots leaders from deprived sections, brought them together to meet 50 international women leaders in a process in Jalgaon, and how important that was to shine light on the quiet force of women weaving peace at the community level. And really, this is Asha's, has been dedicated to this idea her entire life and brought this to the Jai Jagat. So we thank her for that. But Asha, what I wanted you to focus on in this, before October 2nd, before we complete our 12 days of programming on Jai Jagat's campaign of Nonviolent Economy, is I wanted you to reflect with us a little bit on the importance of women, particularly in India, which has been your plane of action, how women have contributed to a transition economy. So we tend to see transition economy in a European context in terms of more bicycles or in terms of less pesticides in agriculture, so there's a way of looking at transition in the West. But I think what we often miss is that women have been leading a quiet revolution in India for the last 2 or 3 decades, and how that is really building through micro enterprise, through the informal sectors, a nonviolent economy that may not get reflected in GDP or large, the narrative tends to be more the mainstream narrative and not the narrative of this nonviolent economy. So people often don't know about it. but maybe you can talk a little bit about your experience in this regard. Over to you, Asha.
Thank you so much, Jill. At the very outset, I really would like to thank Jagat for this wonderful opportunity to be part of this panel on nonviolent economy, and especially thank Jill for, roping me in. It's really a great privilege. I just thought that before I actually come to the point that I've been asked to really dwell on, I thought I would sort of start from efforts that have begun at the national level, the role of women, and bring it down to the state and then absolutely into the grassroots with examples of the grassroots. I'm sure, of course, some of the things that I would be saying, you'll have already heard about it because it's been spoken and read a lot, but just to reiterate the role of women. For instance, it was just a small group of 15 women who initiated a peaceful protest against the Citizens Amendment Act, which then became such a big movement. And I see it very closely linking up to nonviolent economy because citizenship is very, very important. If you do not get that citizenship, you don't have the right to work. And it was these women who led a very peaceful struggle, which lasted for almost 65 days. They started on 15th of December and were forcefully stopped from continuing the peaceful struggle on 24th of March. So further down, if we come down, and I'd like to sort of share an example of my own state, where, as you all know, at the moment, India is facing very, very challenging times. Besides, of course, the pandemic, which has devastated lives of the poor, particularly migrants and laboring class. But along with that, the kind of laws that have been introduced, the kind of policies that have been introduced have also created a lot of difficult times and has led to more and more unemployment and impoverishment of those who are really the most marginalized people. And in that section, it's the women and children who really have suffered. So to share another very brief example, when in the state of Karnataka that I belong to, there was a bill being introduced to ban cattle slaughter, which meant that that was an infringement on your basic fundamental rights in terms of the choice of what you would like to eat. And we all know the poorest of the poor in the country are the Dalits. And for them, eating beef is what they get their nutrition from, their protein from. Now that was being banned, and therefore the civil society in Bangalore in particular came together and in a very peaceful way decided that they were going to exercise their freedom, which is a constitutional right. And this was done through a kind of a celebration of people coming in, both men and women, bringing different kinds of food, which included beef and pork and mutton and vegetarian and everything, and everybody eating together. It was a protest, but a protest with a celebration and sending out a very strong message that we will not give up what is our fundamental right and what has been enshrined in the Constitution for us. Now I would like to really come to the grassroots. I would like to share here an example of an organization that again is working largely with Dalit women. It's known as the Tamil Nadu Dalit Women's Federation. And most of the Dalit women are into agriculture labor. Now, in the villages that these women live in, those villages were being encroached by large companies, multinational. You have the Hyundai, big companies coming in to take away the land. And taking away the land meant that there would be no employment. The women will not be able to work as agricultural laborers on the fields. And that would then lead them into a situation of poverty. So the women mobilized themselves together and they marched to express resistance against the land grab, as we call it. And on the other hand, they also did advocacy with the local governing unit, which is known as the panchayat in India. We have a 3-tier system, as you all would know. The lowest governing unit is the panchayat. So the women then advocated with the local elected members who were their representatives and urged them that they should desist from allowing these rich industrialists to take over their land. And through this peaceful negotiations, they were able to some extent, I wouldn't say fully, but to some extent, they were able to stop their lands from being taken over for developing these industrial units and car manufacturing units. And all this was done in a very peaceful way, and it was women that were leading these peaceful struggles. The same group, as we all know, women and land rights is very, very important. For women, land is critical because land does not only provide them employment. If they have a piece of land, it also helps them cultivate, and therefore it leads to their food security. And it's also a way by which it helps them to not become easy victims of violence, because they have the ownership of that land, which gives them a certain amount of power. Again, these villages that I'm talking about, they are dotted on the border of Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. And at that particular time, land, very small bits of land, was being distributed by the government to Dalit families, and it was being given in the name of women. They were very small lands, marginal, kind of 1 acre, 1.5 acre, that's about all, not more than 2 acres maximum. And the land that these women were given, first, they were told that they're getting this land, and they were shown where the land was being given. And the land that was being given to them was barren land, was land which could not be cultivated. It was rocky land. Some of the land was on small hillocks. But yet the women felt, okay, at least they have the land. But now to show possession of the land, you need to have an official document, then entitles you as the rightful owner. And for this, the women again mobilized themselves, and they had to face even attempts of rape by the government officer who wanted to deny them what was their entitlement. But the women did not give up, because as a collective, they had the solidarity and support of each other. They were very persistent and persevering. And finally, there happened to be, because government officials they get transferred, a sensitive government official came in position over there, and he immediately gave them their document of possession. Now, based on that document of possession, they were able to then seek certain grants for the development of their land so that they could then cultivate it. So collectively, the women sought this loan from what they call the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe corporations, development corporations, and they worked on the land collectively, and it was developed and made cultivable. Then the women started doing collective farming. They collectively decided that they would grow certain food crops, a little bit of vegetable, and collectively they supported each other with labor, supported each other with sharing their seeds, the crops, and whatever excess they got, they kept what was required for the domestic needs, which helped them to maintain the food security of their families. And whatever little extra was there, they decided that they would have what they call like a domestic market. And that would be then sold at a very, very reasonable price to others within the village. So it served them the dual purpose of helping them improve their income. So it was income generation, as well as it helped the food security of the family. And in being able to provide these kind of resources for the family, it also helped the women to overcome the violence that they were being subjected to. It was not as though these women were not facing domestic violence. They were survivors of domestic violence, but because they now had this land, they were cultivating, they were able to generate income, their status, their decision-making power had sort of, come in, and the menfolk realized and began to respect the contribution of the women. And that helped them maintain a kind of peace and harmony in the home. And also with the income generation, they were able to send their children for education, which earlier they were not able to do. This just shows how they were really able to, through this non-violent initiative, they were able to help in their own family economy. If I could share, I don't know if I have the time. Can I share one more case of Karnataka? Do we have the time?
I think we may be a little short of time, but maybe in the question period, that would be the time that we could, if there's not a lot of questions, we could come back to that, Asha. Maybe you could just refer to it, so we'll come back to it.
Yeah, so I would just like to sort of you can get that. In Karnataka also, again, a whole group of women, as you all know, we have this very big program that has been introduced on the employment guarantee. There again, there was a lot of mechanization taking place, and how these women, through a peaceful method, stopped that and got what was rightfully supposed to be theirs. I think I'll just stop with that.
Asha, thank you so much. What we're going to, thank you so much for both showing the women's resistance to injustice at the national level, how women have used strategies for overcoming a government who is not practicing inclusion through celebration at the state level, and some of the actions of these Dalit women that you referred to in getting land and livelihood through their community organizing. I hope that people will stay on and see Ekta Parishad a little later in this broadcast, where we'll actually see women who have done just what Asha has said. They've fought for land rights, they've got it, they've gained greater status in their homes and their communities, and therefore they're becoming decision makers that are very important for giving a more peaceful direction to community development. So stay tuned for that. I'd like to now turn to Jean Fabra. We're very delighted to have you, Jean, someone who worked for years and years within the United Nations Development Program. He was the head of communications, so he learned, he was in the middle of development of so many countries. Jean has participated with us, particularly on the advocacy. During our march, he linked us to the unit in the international, what is it now? International, anyway, the Unit on Social and Solidarity Economy and International Labor Organization, sorry. In that they house the Social and Solidarity Economy, which is a task force that is helping to bring into the UN and into the development programs, multilateral programs, information and experiences of the social and solidarity economy. So we were able to link nonviolent economy with this unit, thanks to Jean. Jean has also introduced us to friends in Italy who are also working on yearly marches for peace. That's part of a long tradition. And 2 years ago, I believe, the Pope Francis called a large conference of young people together to look at what an economy, what peace economy would look like. This is called the Francis economy. And I'm sure Jean will help us to understand it more. We are delighted to have you, Jean, to speak on many of the ways that you see and a future direction for Jai Jagat in promoting a nonviolent economy to others. So we welcome you and look forward to hearing from you today. Over to you, Jean.
Well, thank you, Jill. I just want to precise one thing. The ILO, International Labour Organization, is currently chairing what is called an interagency task force within the United Nations, and 15 different organizations of the UN system are part of it. And it's important because we want to bring everybody on board, and we want to make everybody aware of the fact that what we understand in Jagat, that the economy has to be changed, because the economy, the changes in the economy, it's the mother of all changes. Why is it that way? Because the economy is not an abstract thing which is above us. It is what we do every day, when we produce, when we buy, when we rent, when we exchange, even when we give some free time to help a neighbor or a friend, and that we don't charge anything for that. That's the economy. It's how we relate to each other. And whether we respect people, we treat them fairly, we care about their well-being, or we exploit them or abuse them, speculate on them, or do whatever. And frankly, we live in the greatest of all paradoxes today, because we have technologies which are fabulous. We even start commercial flights in space. We have the highest income wealth per inhabitant on Earth, enough to give a purchasing power of $1,600 a month, purchasing power to every single human being, from babies to elderlies. We live longer than ever. We have the most educated generation in the entire history of humankind. We produce more food than the human population can consume. We have institutions which enable us to undertake any cooperation or any dialogue at the global level. And yet we have 2 billion people who are not equipped at home to wash their hands. We have 1 billion people with no electricity. And worse than that, every 6 seconds, we have a child who dies, who's been killed by the fact that, we have poverty, lack of access to commodities and to medical care. This dominant economy is unable to reduce gaps, to improve the quality of human relations. It spoils natural resources. It triggers climate change. And it creates a situation in which women nowhere are treated as fairly as men are. So our economy, the dominant economy, is built on a war model. It's competition among everybody. We're all competing with each other as individuals, as enterprises, as countries. So we have to change that. And if we continue that war model, in fact, playing by the rules of a dominant violent economy means perpetuating the violence which is there. And so we have to move to an economy of caring. I care about others and about the situation, and I take care of every single other person. And that's what we have to do. Gandhi used to say, before taking any action, think of the impact that this will have on the most vulnerable in society. If that impact is negative, what you are about to do is illegitimate. It cannot be done. And so Jagat's proposal is to walk the talk. I mean, we can say that we were organizing marches, so let's walk the talk. And in fact, this is what Ekta Parishad is doing, but this is also what many others are doing around the world, each in their own context. And so we have to stop being part of the problem and be part of the solution. And so we all have decisions to make, individual and collective decisions. And that's not easy, because we're in a society which is dominated by certain things. And when you desert the economy of competition, then you're confronted with all sorts of problems. And that's where we have to hold hands with each other, not only take individual decisions, but hold hands with each other. Gandhi used to see things in terms of, we are all trustees of the situation of the world, of other people and of nature. And so we have to put ethics at the heart of every decision. So we have to do a number of things. There has been a lot of talk about degrowth. I don't use that expression ever. I talk about de-hinching, because it's not that we have to reduce something. We have to cure our family, our human family. We have to stop that disease of watching at, my things. So we have to be strategic also. And it's important that we create desire by showing what we do and by showing that we are more happy in that way. And that by showing also that helping other people makes you happy. But we have to be strategic also by scaling up what we're doing. The purpose of our action is not to be in some islands of peace and happiness in the midst of a huge ocean of violence that is hurting so many people, so many communities, and Mother Nature, to the point that we are the first generation, Eve, you and me, and Jean, I know that we are the first generation in the history of humankind who is handing over to the next generation a situation which is worse than the one that it inherited from its own parents. We're also giving some of the best things, some of the biggest jumps forward, but also a totally unmanageable situation for those young people who are today in our custody and who will be unable to manage things when they reach our age. So we have a challenge as individuals and as institutions. And it is important that we be strategic in everything that we do. Even when we do a march, when we do a fast, when we do something like that, to structure that in such a way that we make an impact. You know, it's all good and fine to meditate here and all that, and we all need that because we need to nourish ourselves with ideas, with strength, with moral strength, with vital things. But we need to be strategic in the society to create the changes that we have decided to bring. So we have to make sure that what we do is known, that what we're trying to do is clear, that we show that things are within reach of hand. So the question is, what can I do? But also, how do I do that so that we make a difference? So we have to challenge the institutions and the individuals, both, you know, when we take our action. And so we have to plan our actions also in order to challenge individuals and institutions. When we fast, when we march, you know, all that, we have to build that challenge into that. And so the communication component is very important. And the political objectives, talking about political objectives, that is to say how we want to reconstruct our societies, have to be clear in their direction, but inclusive in the process, because we're not going to rebuild societies from, you know, with the few good people who have understood what, you know, we think is the truth. Change is a process, and let us never forget that most fasts that Gandhi has done was not to constrain other people to do things that he wanted to achieve. It was just to bring down the level of violence and enable people to think and dialogue and conceive things together instead of shouting at each other and exerting violence against each other because I want to win, you know, and you have to lose. So all these things have to be done in a certain way. And I want to go back to conclude to what Yves was saying at the beginning. We must challenge ourselves as individuals, us as communities, and we have to challenge our governments. This is why the UN Task Force on Social and Solidarity Economy is trying to promote a resolution by the UN General Assembly on changing the economy. But local authorities, city governments, local authorities can help a lot. And it's not just by challenging them. They have an interest. If you come up with a good proposal, very often you will find enthusiasm. I started at the United Nations, the World Alliance of Cities Against Poverty. You have 900 cities that are part of that today. Let's help them reflect on what they can do in terms of helping to scale up the nonviolent economy. That helps them solve many problems locally. So we have to enter into a dialogue. We have to come into the habit of entering into a dialogue, and we'll do that all the more easily that we are walking the talk, that we are doing things. Asha, just one example of something. In Geneva, there's the social economy, let's say, all the entities of the social economy have created a group, and that group has created a chamber of the social economy on the same level as the Chamber of Commerce that exists in many places. Now, in order to join, organizations have to meet a number of criteria, but once they are part of that, they have to accomplish a walk, a march towards other objectives. One of them is to make sure that they respect the environment properly, that they take all measures so that they become carbon neutral and this and that and that and that and respectful of the environment. But the other thing is the social dimension, and that includes to treat men and women exactly on the same ground. And so we can do things ourselves, and we can also interact with our governments and local governments in promoting all of that. So let's walk the talk. Jill, you have to reconnect your microphone.
Jill, may I request you to please unmute yourself?
Yes, sorry, I was just, I'm just on a cell phone, which has it. Thank you so much, Jean. I mean, this has really brought together many of the issues. In closing, before I turn it over to Monica for some questions and answers, I just wanted to say that what Yves has done is he has helped us to see, as we have seen through these 12 days, that nonviolent economy is much broader than production and consumption, or alternative finance and so on. That it is much broader, it is much deeper. I think, Asha, you've helped us to focus on the most marginalized of women in terms of how they see nonviolent economy, which is not generally factored into the way people talk about economy, the control of resources. And Jean, you have, apart from reminding us about Gandhi's trusteeship and his talisman of thinking of the poorest in any decision that we take, you have challenged us to think of how do we, what can I do? How do I do it? These are challenges that we hoped we raised over these last 12 days, not only in terms of webinars, Jean, but in terms of actions, pediatras, relay fasts, webinars, and many, many other activities. I'd like to just say that the scaling up, which you're talking about, is really a critical issue for us in India in looking at nonviolent community economy among, the development of the poorest. Can I say that in conclusion that Eve, your idea of this unity and diversity, something that Gandhi was so strongly advocated for, is what we try to, how we try to model these 12 days of Jai Jagat, having a plurality of different experiences, different people speaking, showing different strategies of action. And you also pointed out that the youth, Monica in particular, who has been the main person behind these broadcasts, Gary, the singer you just saw, Winnie Singh, Janmajay, these are all young people who are making Jai Jagat possible. I mean, without the young, we don't have the hope of the changes that we have in mind. They are the change actors that we see coming up, and we need to fortify and provide them the space. So with that, I want to thank my guests for this amazing interaction. I think we need more of these interactions. Jean, fortunately, you were with us 1 year ago on October 1st. I hope you will be with us 1 year from now, where we can show more cases, bring forward more youth who are excited about exploring not only sustainability and equity, but also peace within their economy. So thank you very much. I now turn this over to Monica for continuation of the program.
Thank you very much, Yale, for these final remarks, and also thanks to all the panelists. I mean, as we are running out of time a little bit, I mean, I would just, instead of do a round of answers and questions, maybe if any of you, or I mean, all of you would like to share a final thought. Or any question maybe among you. Otherwise, I mean, we can move on the program, as I know also some of you have to leave soon. Right. And well, I think we have also some of our friends in India getting ready for their participation. But well, I mean, yeah, if there is no final thought from any of the panelists, I think we can move to India, right? Okay. Ajit, are you with us?
Jai Jagat, Monica.
Jai Jagat, Ajit. I think sorry?
Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Yes, so we have here with us the pleasure to have Ajit and a group of women in Prayog, Chhattisgarh, where all the marchers will come together tomorrow. And they very kindly would like to share with us a brief song before they share with us some of the most relevant updates of the jatras, of the different jatras of today. And over to you, Ajit.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you, Monica. Yeah, thank you, Monica. Thank you, Jai Jagat, to one and all. It was amazing to hear the first part of this webinar. And I was little translating to our sisters from the village. So they were so happy about these points are getting noticed, and this work is happening in this focus. So we'll start with an Adivasi song. These people, our sisters are from Rajnagar district of Chhattisgarh. So they were walking for last 11 days, and today they reached Kilda already for the program. So we'll start with the song. जोर से जोर से जोर से और जोर से
जय जगत।
मैं विनोहीन राजनांदगांव जिले से हूँ और छत्तीसगढ़। अभी जो विश्व शांति पद यात्रा चला जिसमें हम लोग राजनांदगांव जिले में हमने 51 पंचायत में हमने अपनी पद यात्रा निकाला, जिसमें हमने गांव में दो चीज देखने को मिला, गरीबी और बीमारी। आज लोग वंचित लोग आज गरीब बीमारी से भी त्रस्त हैं और गरीबी भी उनकी है। लोगों को गांव में अवसर नहीं मिल रहा है, रोजगार का अवसर नहीं मिल रहा है, जिसके कारण गरीबी बढ़ रही है। हजारों लोग जो रोड में काम करते थे वो मशीन के द्वारा काम चल रहा है, इसके वजह से उनको रोजगार को अवसर नहीं मिल रहा है रोजगार के लिए। और गांव-गांव में हमने देखा कि जो वंचित है, जो गरीब है, वो न्याय नहीं मिल रहा है उनके लिए। आज के परिस्थिति में महिलाओं के सामने सबसे बड़ी समस्या है, क्योंकि आज जो जमीन महिलाओं के नाम से होना चाहिए, उनको भी एक लगना चाहिए कि मेरे नाम से जमीन है, मैं भी एक किसान हूँ, ऐसे उनके मन में लगता तो महिलाओं के नाम से भी जमीन होनी चाहिए। और आज गरीब के पास जमीन नहीं है, उनके लिए न्याय नहीं है, न्याय नहीं मिल रहा है। आज हम महिलाओं को समाज में बराबरी का दर्जा नहीं है, भागीदारी तो है, लेकिन समाज में भी बराबर अधिकार या निर्णय ये हम महिलाओं को नहीं मिल पा रहा है। और महिलाएं हमने पैदल चले, केवल हम महिलाएं, मेरे साथ 11 लोग चले और मेरी नेतृत्व में 11 महिलाएं थे और केवल महिला टीम था। जिसमें हमको महिलाओं के ऊपर भी बहुत समस्याएं हमने देखे और गरीबी को भी देखे नजदीकी से। तो हम चाहते हैं कि गांव-गांव में जितने भी वंचित हैं, गरीब हैं, उनको सब वंचित वर्गों को जमीन मिले, आवास मिले, मजदूरी करने के लिए उनको काम मिले, तो गांव में शांति आएगा, देश खुशहाल रहेगा, गांव खुशहाल रहेगा और सबके बीच में खुशहाली आएगी। इतना कहकर मैं अपनी शब्द को पूर्ण विराम करती हूँ। जय जगत, जय जगत, जय जगत, जय जगत।
Friends, this is Virohin Didi from Rajgat district of Chhattisgarh. So she was the leader of the district and she was having a march for last 11 days with this team of 11 women, including her. So interestingly, they've been to many panchayats and all, and the situation there was not very good. In fact, it's a very challenging time going on here. So great extent poverty is here. I mean, I don't know, unemployment has raised into a different level due to this corona crisis and all. There are health issues, there are facilities, lack of facilities like education, health facilities, etc. I mean, due to this, there a lot of migration is also happening in these villages due to this unemployment and all. Another interesting factor they put forward is like, yeah. So another interesting factor she pointed was like, unless we don't get, nobody is having land. Hardly people are having their own land. Unless you don't have land, you don't have justice. And unless you don't have justice, you don't have peace. So she's saying land is far from us. Hence, justice is much far from us. Hence, peace is, I mean, it's to an extent, it's very far for the time being. So she was saying it's time for a good movement. And she was saying wherever she went, people gave a lot of support to them, a lot of love to them. They were walking as a solidarity marchers. In spite of all these challenges, all these poverty issues, all these unemployment issues, in spite of all these challenges, they were working with us because they all are thirsty and hungry for peace and justice. Another interesting point she put forward was like, this time it's a different yatra happening in India. It's a kind of decentralized yatra. So they are getting chance to get lead the yatra. Hence, there are a lot of leadership emerging from villages of India. In fact, women leadership emerging from Indian villages, which is great. They are so happy and proud about that. She was saying in her yatra, there were only 11 women walking, including her. So they were doing all the advanced activities. They were doing all the arrangements. They themselves is walking. They themselves is interacting with the villagers. They themselves is interacting with the employees and all other. They working with the state and all. So that gives a different pressure for them. Pressure of being, giving a leadership for a better world. Pressure of proposing a new development model, which is focusing on the marginalized people, which can help the underprivileged people, which can help to eradicate our poverty to a greater extent, which can bring a lot of solutions to the Indian villages. So, and interestingly, the last point she put forward was like, we the women, we need land in our name. The document of the land should be in our name. Hence, we can bring a lot of changes in the society. We'll get dignity. We'll get, we can run the society. So it will be a great moment. Initially I thought I'll speak. Then I thought these people were working for last 11 days, and they got to meet all these people. They were doing a lot of work on roads. Why can't they bring into an international platform in which they address in their own language? Initially, the song they sang was in Gondi language, which is a tribal language, typical tribal language of this region, and they were singing Jai Jagat there. So Jai Jagat was giving a lot of hope to them. Jai Jagat is giving, making a platform for them to stood in front and to work for better world. So I'm so happy to present all these people from Prayog Ashram. You can see all the arrangements are going for tomorrow's program, as Dr. Jill was saying in the beginning. The compilation of all the work of this region will be happening here. Interestingly, the supreme head of the state, governor, will be addressing all the food marches. This I have presented food marches from only one district. Similarly, many district people are coming. They are already reaching. They'll be reached by tonight and by tomorrow morning. And state governor will be addressing them in front of the state government. Interestingly, that she is a woman. In front of them, they'll put their word. We need justice. We need justice, and in Jagat's platform, they'll work forward for a better world. Jai Jagat! Jai Jagat! Thank you, Monica.
Jai Jagat.
Looking forward
Thank
to
you
your
very
presentation.
much, Ajit. Thank you very much for bringing them to this panel, to this platform, and also all our admiration to all of them, to all our deities who are marching there and struggling for getting land rights. And really, thank you very much. We will look forward to watch tomorrow's program. Of course, we will be in touch, Ajit, and we will be live streaming some of the activities over there. Thank you very much. Jai Jagat, dear friends.
Jai Jagat, Jai Jagat.
And actually, talking about land and farmers, and in these 12 days of action, also the Asian NGO Coalition for Agrarian Reform and Rural Development has been organizing a series of webinars that we have presented before during these 10 days. And today there was an interesting webinar led by the NGO Federation of Nepal and Community Development Association and the Social Development Foundation in Nepal. And the webinar was a discussion on the responses to the COVID-19 impact on smallholder farmers. We will watch small pieces of it. As you know, if you want to watch it completely, you can also go to our Jai Jagat Facebook page, where you will find all the different webinars of these 12 days of action. Gary, could you share with us?
I didn't have a formal presentation. He told me that just to speak few things. That's why I just started a bit different. But it affects much in to achieve this Sustainable Development Goal 1 and 2. This is interrelated also. So I will not say much about this, but what is the situation in Nepal, the agriculture sector? We are just developing this agriculture sector, and the nature of agriculture sector is we have different varieties of agriculture system prevails in Nepal. Being a mountainous country and a hilly region and in Terai region, we have several agroecological climatic zones. So that make our agriculture system diversified. That is why the effect also varied from different system to system. We already know that we are focusing to the commercialization and industrialization of this sector from past. So we are targeting these peoples. This impact on land rights sector. And now I will share some impacts on agriculture and food systems. So as we observed, during the COVID period, planting and harvesting process was disrupted because the farmers have a problem to buy seed, fertilizers. So they have a problem to planting and even harvesting as well. So also not only off-farm sector, the people who are involved in agriculture sector, they also lose their job. So mainly there was a
disrupt the planting and harvesting process. That is one. And second is the food system is directly affected through disruption of the food supply and chain and market.
Thank you very much, Gary. And yes, thank you very much to the ANGOC NGO for organizing and hosting this important series of discussions among different countries of South Asia. It's been very also rich to hear about the different issues and local initiatives to give a response to them. And tomorrow there is a final webinar on how art is being used for advocacy. And there will be also different art performances in a cultural program. So I also invite all of you to follow this on the Jagat Facebook. It is at 1:30 p.m. IST, Indian time. And yeah, hope we can also share tomorrow here some of the highlights of that event. Then moving to North America, as Yves also had shared before, there's been a North America Relay Fast for the 12 Days of Action, organized by the Mahatma Gandhi Canadian Foundation for World Peace. And every day, different educators, activists, and Jagat friends have took up this action of fast, and they have shared also a message for peace and justice. And just today, Jamie Fiedler, who is an educator and currently she's one of the two co-chairs of the Mahatma Gandhi Canadian Foundation. She was who decided to take up this action. And we are very pleased to show you a brief interview with Riva Joshi, who is also a co-chair of the Mahatma Gandhi Canadian Foundation and who has organized this really fast. And let us hear from them why did Jimmy decided to take this this fast, and what is her message for peace.
Because yesterday I didn't. All right, so we're here today, September 30th, with Jamie Fiedler, and Jamie and I are co-chairs of the Mahatma Gandhi Canadian Foundation for World Peace, and I'm so happy and privileged to share that honor with Jamie, and to be able to get to know her through that process. And knowing her means that I have gotten to know this amazing, dedicated, thoughtful, intelligent young woman. I am going to turn it over to her now to talk a little bit about Jamie, if you could talk about how you feel about fasting, why you decided you wanted to be part of this fast, and perhaps a little bit about your reason for fasting.
Sure. Thank you so much. And thank you for that very, very kind and generous introduction. You know, I was really pleased to be part of the Relay Fast last year. And I think, you know, I felt really profoundly moved by hearing how deeply people felt about those things they were fasting for, and that it just brought a deep kind of attention to those things that they were thinking more deeply about as they were fasting. So I'm pleased to be fasting again this year in the Relay Fast. Last year I fasted for residential school awareness, and reflecting back on that time now, it's hard to believe that it was only a year ago, because there is so much more awareness about residential schools. And also today is now a national day for truth and reconciliation, what started as Orange Shirt Day, thanks to Phyllis Webstad sharing her story, has now become a national day where we can really think more deeply about truth and reconciliation. So today, that's why I'm fasting, just to encourage us all to think more deeply about truth and reconciliation.
Thank you so much for that, Jamie. Before we go, I wonder if you might want to say a word or two about truth and reconciliation and what that means to you.
So to me, I think I'm glad that there are two parts to think about. There's truth and there's reconciliation. And so I think that education, as an educator myself, that education can play a big role in helping us to understand the truth. And that's the truth of our shared colonial history. And I teach Indigenous education courses, and a lot of my students and a lot of family members and friends that I've spoken to have been really surprised at the lack of education that there has been in this area. And many people feel quite saddened to know more about our history. And so I think that's one part of it, is thinking deeply about that truth, understanding the history that we share, and knowing that developing that understanding is going to mean, learning things that are certainly uncomfortable and very sad and heartbreaking, but that's a healing journey. Like once we can sit together in truth, then we can start the reconciliation part. So and reconciliation to me is really, really hopeful. Like I really am looking forward to the shared future that we can create when we're coming together more truthfully in community.
Thank you so much, Jamie. That was wonderful.
Well, there we had Jimmy and Riva's interview. Thank you very much, Riva and Jimmy, for participating in this action. I think it's a very important also topic, and of course, I'm also agree that there cannot be reconciliation without the process also of truth, and I would say also memory. And thank you very much, Jimmy and Riva. We look forward also to see who will be fasting today, and of course tomorrow we will be sharing that message. Then to move on with our today's highlights. Right now there are also two different actions and events in different places. One is a conference in Italy at the University of Salerno. They are sitting together to talk about the struggle of the peace community of San Jose de Apartado, which is a based community in rural area of Colombia. And this is a very important experience of a great example of nonviolent life in a very difficult situation of armed conflict, and perseverance in its own way and choice of also trying to build up an alternative economic model in the middle of an armed conflict. So, this has been organized by the Jagat Italy in collaboration with Naples Human Rights Film Festival and the Colombia Vive Solidarity Network. Unfortunately, there is no live streaming on that, so we cannot show what's going on there, but for sure, maybe we could get some inputs to share tomorrow. But I just want to thank also our friends in Italy for organizing this this webinar, to highlight a very interesting experience from Latin America on peace and nonviolence. And also in Chile, in the Putaendo Valley, more or less at the middle of the country, there is a network of territory defenders and neighbors and environmental activists who are carrying out, they have been organizing also in these different 12 days of action, different activities, and they are more focused also on local economies. And today they are carrying out a workshop on bioconstruction. So let me show you a piece of it, because it's very interesting to see many people from many realities, many countries also working for the same goals. And we really appreciate that this network has been recently joined Jagat, and yeah, we're very happy to have them with us.
Vecinas y vecinos del Valle de Putaendo, acá estamos con vecinos y vecinas en movimiento, trabajando en el Centro Cultural La Madriguera. Trabajo comunitario, territorial. Aquí vemos los chiquillos y las chiquillas, trabajando en barro, con las patitas en el barro. Transmisión para Facebook, chiquillos, en vivo. Es ahí. Vamos a estar aquí todo el día hasta las 6 de la tarde por si quiere venir a meter las patitas al barro.
They are inviting all the community to join.
¿Cómo se siente? ¿Cómo se sienten los piecitos en el barro? ¿Sí, no?
Sí. Terapia, exfoliación.
So I think it's important to say this is a communitarian space they've been building up for a few months. And this is a very interesting community who are also have been resisting against mining mega project.
Se escucha el reggaetón de fondo de los vecinos.
While at the same time they are trying to build up local initiatives and solidarity economy. So there we had our friends from Chile also. Thank you very much, and all our best regards to Chile. And finally, I think we are all running a little bit out of time. And just to conclude, I just want to let you know, friends, that I mean today we are still there is still a lot of events happening. Just in Spain at 8 p.m. There will be a webinar. On the name is Construyendo Utopías, Otra Economía Ya Existe, which is building up utopia. Another economy already exists, and different groups who have been working also in local initiatives on nonviolent economies will gather to exchange some of their initiatives. So also you could follow up this on our Jagat Facebook page at 8 p.m. Central European Time. And also, I mean, today is the Nonviolent Economy Day, and it seems like all different groups have agreed on this. And also in Mexico, there will be 2 different online dialogues, one in community governance and another one in community economy. These are also organized by people who have been working for several years on these different matters, and they will be also exchanging some initiatives, but also reflecting on how to keep strengthening these processes. And finally, also today in Mexico starts the 2 days online workshop on our role as a consumers in the search for a sustainable society. It will be a sort of introduction to fair trade and responsible consumption. So also I really thank our friends from the Mahatma Gandhi Share who have been organizing all these different programs along the 12 days of action. And we hope also we can get some of these inputs for tomorrow's broadcast. And yeah, I mean, I invite you all to stay tuned in our Facebook channel to follow all these different activities. And yeah, I mean, I'm very, very, very thankful with all the panelists. Thank you very much, Jan. Thank you very much, Asha and Yves, for joining us today and for sharing a very important reflection who help us to give like an overall understanding of a nonviolent economy after seeing all these different actions in different countries and trying to link them all in one main goal and path that we're trying to walk through. So thank you very much, Jan, Asha, Ajit, and our DDs from India also. Thank you for sharing. And see you all tomorrow in the same channel at the same time. We will close with a musical clip, which Gary will help us to play. Thank you. Jai Jagat.
Stand up, you'll see some way, somehow we will ignite change now. Take a look at things usually around us, the mood it brings, the beauty that surrounds us. Our duty, it seems, is all gonna amount up. The movement is seen right now, so mount up. Fight today and it might stay in sight's range. One night a day and the light will ignite things. Be strong, move on, and it might change. Through song we can spark and ignite change.
Some people want time, but they don't know what to do with it. Some people die trying just to get a little bit. Pump up your prime, your potential's not a crime. It is an element of who you are, so to yourself be kind. Turn your words into action. Let your knowledge gain traction. Sitting on your back, you never gain satisfaction. Be a part of something bigger, still it's a fraction.
Hands up with me and say this loud. We will ignite change now. Stand up, you'll see some way, somehow we will ignite change now. Citizens of Earth, we're all equal and we're innocent at our birth. From every continent, what we're worth is what we're giving, not how much we spend. Seconds ticking by. How many more will have to suffer till we unify? Human rights for all, man and woman, young and old, come on and raise the call. Hands up with me and say this loud. We will ignite change now. Stand up, you'll see some way, somehow we will ignite change now.
We're gonna transform, grown to conform. So debone your skeletons, develop your soul. Cause the world's not a stage, it's a page. You can draw, you can write, gripe, and you can rip it away. Your only fate is to make mistakes. It's never too late to erase your ways. A fresh slate for a fresh face. Feel the ink flow from your hands to your brain to your legs and take shape in the streetscape.
Feel it in my heart, it's time to start. Hold it, I can't control it, it is flowing off the charts. Creative energy flowing through our veins. Can't stop, won't stop, youth have taken in the reins. Get on the good foot, it's just begun. It's the creative cipher, all love under the sun. Express your range, use your talents now, just be the change.
I will be the change I wanna see. Nothing, no one is stopping me. Sisters, bros, stand up, unite. Be the spark, set it alight. All together, I know we can do anything. It starts with me and you. It's our chance, we're the generation igniting change in every nation.
Hip hop.
Stand up, you'll see. Some way, somehow we will achieve. Ignite change now. Stand up, you'll see. Some way, somehow we will achieve. Santé manière que son petit parviendra. Il ne change maintenant. Levez-vous vers elle. Santé manière en quelque sorte.